Good day, everybody, and welcome to Astronomy Daily for Wednesday, the 26th of July 2023. My name is Tim Gibbs, and I will be your host for today's podcast. Following on a little bit from Steve's episode on Monday about the Apollo 11 moon landings, I well remember staying up on the day of the moon walk to watch it live on television, and my grandparents buying a brand new colour TV because they wanted to watch it in colour, and then everybody being very, very disappointed that it was broadcast in black and white. Just a little anecdote from myself. Now, on with the show.
Astronomy Daily, the podcast, with your host, Tim Gibbs.
It's One Story Wednesday, so Hallie, have you got a good story for us today?
Hi, Tim. Yes, I have a great story for our listeners today. NASA lab hopes to find life's building blocks in asteroid sample. Eager scientists and a gleaming lab awaits. A sample from the asteroid Bennu, which could be key to understanding the formation of the solar system and our own planet, is set to be analyzed at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston after it reaches Earth in late September. The precious cargo is currently aboard OSIRIS-Rx, a U.S. space probe launched in 2016 to Bennu, which orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 105 million miles, 168 million kilometers. Long white sleeves hang from the huge metal and glass box in which the sample will be handled. Scientists will separate pieces of the rock and dust for study now, while carefully storing away the rest for future generations equipped with better technology. A practice first started during the Apollo missions to the Moon. We don't expect there to be anything living but, rather, the building blocks of life, Nicole Lunning, lead OSIRIS-REx sample curator, told AFP. That's really what motivated going to this type of asteroid, to understand what the precursors were that may have fostered life in our solar system and on Earth. Once the return vessel arrives at the Texas clean room, Lunning's job will be to carefully disassemble it and separate the contents, all while keeping the material pure and uncontaminated. The spacecraft is scheduled to land in the Utah desert on September 24th, carrying an estimated 8.8 ounces, or 250 grams of material, just over a cupful. Obtaining it involved a high-risk operation in October 2020. The probe came into contact with the asteroid for a few seconds, and a blast of compressed nitrogen was emitted to raise the dust sample, which was then captured. The whole mission was imperiled when NASA realized a few days later that the valve of the collection compartment was failing to close, letting fragments escape into space. But the precious cargo was finally secured after being transferred to a capsule fixed in the spacecraft's center. Now back to you, Tim.
The Astronomy Daily Podcast.
A NASA power outage disrupted communications between Mission Control and the International Space Station on Tuesday. Mission Control couldn't send commands to the station and talk with the 7 astronauts in orbit. The power outage hit as upgrade work was underway in the building at Houston's Johnson Space Center. Space Station Program Manager Joel Montalbano said neither the astronauts nor the station were ever in any danger, and that backup control systems took over within 90 minutes. The crew was notified of the problem through Russian communication systems within 20 minutes of the outage. It is the first time NASA has had to fire up these backup systems to take control, according to Montalbano. He said NASA hoped to resolve the issue and be back to normal operations by the end of the day. NASA maintains a backup control center miles from Houston in the event of a hurricane or other disasters requiring evacuation. But in Tuesday's case, the flight controllers stayed at Mission Control since the lights and the air conditioning still worked.
The Astronomy Daily Podcast.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to Astronomy Daily. You can find all of our episodes, plus our parent podcast, Space Nuts, at spacenuts.io or at bytes.com. And don't forget you can join in the conversation yourself by going to our Facebook page, Space Nuts Podcast Group. You can hear Steve Dunkley on Mondays and myself, Tim Gibbs, on Fridays for a full show. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Bye for now.
Thanks, Tim. TTFN.
The Astronomy Daily Podcast.
Bye.